What is going on, guys? I'm Aaron from PhoneDog.com, and I'm super excited because the Thunderbolt dogfights continue. I'm serious, that's how excited I am. I'm really excited. On one hand, you have the HTC ThunderBolt 4G device, Verizon's first 4G LTE device, 1 GHz Snapdragon processor, 4.3-inch display. You probably know the specs: 8-megapixel camera, front-facing camera, big display. I think I already covered that. Kickstand on the back. All in all, awesome feature-packed device. Then you have the iPhone 4, classic device. A lot of people love it. Very thin, beautiful build quality, 3.5-inch display, so very tiny in comparison to the Thunderbolt. So, 5-megapixel camera, iOS 4.3. Which one's the best? We're gonna find out in the dogfight, which starts right now. So it's a battle royale between two of the hottest smartphones on the market. In one hand, you have the HTC ThunderBolt, Verizon's fastest device to date, at least in the network speeds. 1 GHz processor, 4.3-inch display, 8-megapixel camera, front-facing camera, Android 2.2 with HTC Sense 2.0, and it kind of has that Evo look and feel to it. 1400 milliamp battery in the back, and a kickstand that's a little bit bigger than the Evos and has a speaker on the back, if I can hold it in my hands. Volume rocker on the right side, micro USB charging port on the left, 3.5mm headphone jack on the top, power button on the top as well. Now you can see here in the back you have a spot under the battery for your 4G LTE SIM card, which I don't want to pull it out because it'll power it off. And then you have your micro SD slot. Now it comes with a 32GB micro SD card, meaning that between that and the 8GB of internal storage, you have almost 40 GB of storage space out of the box. Now, then you have the iPhone 4, Apple A4 processor pre-installed, and this actually, Apple A4 processor in the device, if I could talk today. 3.5-inch display, 5-megapixel camera, front-facing camera over there for FaceTime, and then you have iOS 4.3 on this device. Now, this is the AT&T version that I'm running side by side with the Verizon Thunderbolt. That said, save for a few minor differences, it's basically the same device with the exception of iOS 4.3 versus iOS 4.2, a later version of iOS 4.2 on the Verizon version of the iPhone. Pretty similar. But anyway, iOS, Android 2.2, both hot sellers on Verizon. Like I said, 4G on this one. So it is fast. Like, it's holy cheese and crackers, it's fast. And I tested it both in the Charlotte and the Orlando areas. Had some issues in the Orlando area. Had some issues in Charlotte when I got back. Overall, it seems to be performing pretty decently now. It's staying on 4G. No migration between 4G and 3G. And then, of course, you have 3G on this device, which, while it's reasonable on the AT&T, on Verizon, it's pretty slow. I average about 1.2 megabits per second on the download. On the AT&T version, I average between 2 and 3.5, depending on the time of the day and the strain on the network. So faster on this one, and then you have the voice and data ability on this one as well, so you can be on the phone and do data on this device. That said, the antenna design is a little bit different on the AT&T iPhone versus the Verizon one. You'll remember on the dogfights I've done in the past, the Verizon iPhone 4 has the antenna up here, has little slots up here, and then doesn't have this one up here. So a little bit different. It has the 2 down here and then the 2 up here, so on even sides, whereas this one has kind of a broken pattern, if you will, 2 down here but 1 up here on the top. So that was the recurring issue, was the antenna gate thing, where when you held it this way you would lose service. So you remember they gave away the cases. Much better. It seems to be better with the Verizon version because it's up top, and obviously you don't hold your phone like this, you hold it like this. So keeping that in mind. Programs installed on the device out of the box, a lot of bloatware on the HTC Thunderbolt. You have BitBop, you have Blockbuster, City ID. Let's scroll down through here. Let's Golf 2. As many times as I've done dogfights with this thing this week, I shouldn't already know. Should have memorized which applications are on here. Mobile IM. Now, Mobile Hotspot is a cool feature. It comes with the Thunderbolt, and it's actually free until May 15th. After May 15th, it's $20 in addition to your existing data plan, and you get 2 gigabytes of dedicated connectivity, or 2 gigabytes of dedicated internet for the Mobile Hotspot. Going back to the pre-installed applications, you have Rhapsody, Rock Band, Slacker, and then you have TuneWiki, VCast Apps, VCast Media, VZ Navigator. So a lot out of the box, and that wouldn't necessarily be a problem if you could uninstall it, but you can't. So that's the challenge with the HTC Thunderbolt. A lot of programs pre-installed, no ability to uninstall those. And out of the box with this, of course, I've installed a ton of apps. I wouldn't say a ton, but I've installed apps on this device. But out of the box, save for iBooks, pretend like that's not there. That's exactly what it looks like. Very clean, no AT&T or Verizon influences out of the box, though you can download some AT&T and Verizon applications in Apple's App Store. Let's take a more in-depth look at Android 2.2 on this device. It does come, like I said, with HTC Sense 2.0, so it's the newest version of HTC Sense. Now, if you remember my videos of the Evo 3D at CTIA, HTC Sense 3.0 is on its way, but this ships with the HTC Inspire 4G with the Thunderbolt, and I'm assuming at some point it'll probably come to the Evo 4G by way of a software update. But you can see, same setup here with the 7 home screens, the ability to pinch to zoom and go to 1, usual stuff. Now where it's really different, you'll notice down here in the right hand corner, first of all, you'll notice a different theme. Notice that the app drawer is a little bit different. And you'll notice, for example, up here just below Verizon Wireless, it shows applications. You can scroll through, when you've opened up 5 or 6 applications, you can scroll through and pick which one you want to go back to. It's kind of like a recently closed applications menu. And actually that's exactly what it is. But you go down here, and instead of bringing up the typical widgets thing that you remember, for example, when you click on it, it brings it up too. Like on an old Android device, you press and hold and it would bring up that little menu that just said widgets, etc. It brings up this whole personalization menu where you have the option to change the scene, the wallpaper, the skin. You can add widgets if you want to. Now the downside to this, if you have watched the Inspire 4G versus the Thunderbolt dogfight, AT&T surprisingly kept it pretty much unlocked, and there's a program, or there's an application called HTC Hub, which HTC has been very proud of. It's part of HTCSense.com, and through that you can find your phone, you can lock it, remote wipe it, you can lock it to where people can't use it if it's stolen, and then you can download additional skins. And you'll notice that Verizon, for example, it says apply, but it doesn't give that option to add more skins or find more skins through HTC Hub. Same thing with wallpaper, no ability to, we'll go to HTC wallpapers for example, no ability to change or add more wallpapers. And actually in HTC's Hub there are quite a few wallpaper, skin, different things you can download. So same thing with ringtones as well. So kind of frustrating that they don't include HTC Hub in this. I don't know if it's going to come in a future software update, but at least out of the box it doesn't have the capabilities. You can go to skin though. You do have 5 options for the skins. You'll see the typical HTC skin, but that's boring. So we're going to go to metal. I'm going to go to slate. I'm going to go to slate. That's one of my faves. One of my faves. Let's see here. Reminds me of John's weekly bone video. Touch my face! Maybe we should, for April Fools, maybe we should switch and do like a round robin where I pretend to be him for a day and he pretends to be me. I don't know if he could handle that level of coolness though, but you can see that down here, the app drawer has changed a little bit, the icons have changed slightly, the widgets have changed. You'll notice that the color up here and the notifications bar has changed as well. Background has changed, so you can change that back, of course, if you so desire. So one obvious difference between these two devices, widgets here, no widgets here. You do get the ability, to do widgets on Android, and granted the battery life is much worse than that on the iPhone 4, but you do get the capability of having these little things on the screen, like the clock and the ability to see the weather, like your favorites here, friend stream, where if you have social media stuff like Facebook, Twitter, MySpace, if people still use that, you can include those in your friend stream. You have your agenda, which is constantly generating and it's synced to your Google account. So, if you add an appointment in your Gmail, it'll show up here. And, I'm super important. Busy all week long. But you see, I don't know why I keep getting sidetracked, but you can see those are, pretty data-intensive data-intensive widgets, rather. And we can go down here to, let's find another one that's pretty data-intensive. Stocks, for example, data-intensive. We'll bring up a smaller version. We'll do that one. So, keeping that in mind, it's nice to have those widgets, but it does suck down the battery life. This, on the other hand, on iOS, little apps that are in the square format, and that's all you get. You don't get widget capabilities. It's the apps, and that's it. Now, the trade-off is much better battery life. I can easily make it through into 2 days on the iPhone, day and a half, 2 days, without having to charge the battery. In fact, I've been using this as my personal device for a couple weeks, and I'm at 29%, and I charged it yesterday afternoon. So you can see, you don't have to charge it nearly as much as you do on the HTC Thunderbolt and other Android devices. And granted, you don't get the weather on your front, on your main screen, but I can click the weather application and have weather within 2 seconds. Bam, there you go. So it's not necessarily a deal breaker for me, but if you do like having those widgets on the home screen, this may be the end of the dogfight for you, because you should go with the Android device if that's what you want. No opportunities for that on iOS. And while we're talking about that, let's go into some of the downfalls of both of these devices. Notoriously bad battery life on this one. Android, just notoriously bad. And it's even worse on this one because it has a 4G radio installed. LTE sucks the battery life out of this device. With moderate use, I'm able to make it about 8 or 9 hours before this device powers down. This one, on the other hand, no widgets, but I'm able, like I said, to make it about a day and a half with moderate use on this device. Now, the downside to this, no widgets, and also notifications are absolutely miserably bad on iOS. Like, I'll be browsing the web, for example. You get a text message. It brings it up in that gigantic blue box that you remember if you have, an older iPhone or you have an iPod Touch, and you can't do anything else. So I'm browsing the web, surfing through, doing my thing. Bam, pops up. I have to either close it or reply. So if you get a bunch of text messages in a row, you have to stop browsing and respond, or whatever you're doing, and respond back to those people, or hit close, or throw it into airplane mode, or do something to to get those text messages to stop. I'll admit I've thrown it into airplane mode more than once, just so I can finish whatever I'm doing, kicked it onto Wi-Fi, to finish whatever I'm doing just to avoid the text messages. So that's outdated. Was cool in 2007. It's not cool in 2011. They need a better notification system, and this one needs better battery life. Let's take a quick look at both of the keyboards on these devices to get an idea. iPhone's keyboard, one of the best in the industry. HTC Sense, also very good, and because of the larger display, much easier to type on in certain situations. So we're going to go and say, hey there, how are you doing? I'm going to send that to H. Hey there, how are you doing? The Quick Brown Fox, the Quicktown Fox says hello. Can't type today. The Quicktown Fox days hello. And then on this one, I'm going to turn it on. Oddly enough for me, when I have it turned on and can hear it, it's much easier to type on versus not being able to hear it. So we'll say the Quick Brown Fox goes to the market to get some eggs and bacon. So you see the Quick Brown Fox goes to the market to get some eggs and bacon. You can use both of these keyboards in landscape mode as well. Let me pull that out so you can see. Go into landscape mode. That's what it looks like. And then here's what landscape mode looks like as well on this one. So obviously bigger display makes for bigger keys, but this is, like I said, one of the best in the industry. It never lags as opposed to Android, where it does hang up a little bit from time to time depending on what's running in the background. I can't say I've ever had an issue with the iPhone's keyboard lagging up or doing anything like that. Let's take a look at the browsers on both of these devices. HTML5 over here, Flash capabilities on this one, and we'll just click on Phone Dog to get that one back. And then let's see here. Get Phone Dog on this one. Bam. Okay. So we'll load those up and see. There goes Phone Dog on that one. You see little things like this one's still loading. I don't know what's taking it so long because it is on 4G. So little discrepancies like that kind of concern me. But you'll notice pinch to zoom, very good on the iPhone 4. Now you'll see some checkerboarding from time to time, especially when you zoom out. There you go. Checkerboarding from time to time. But overall, pinch to zoom, very good. And turn into the landscape. Did I already lock that? Yeah, I did lock it back. That's right. There you go, to see it in landscape mode as well. Now the downside to this 3.5-inch display, it is pretty noticeable when you're browsing the web. It's a small display, and when you go from working with something like this to working with a Thunderbolt or an Evo or an Inspire, it's a noticeable difference, and it's much nicer to have the capabilities that come with a larger display. But you're still seeing that checkerboarding. Now down here, and this operating system is all about ease of use, all about how smooth it is. So we can click on this, add bookmark, add the home screen if you want to, mail a link, print, etc. Or then I can add a new page, and then once I have that open, you can see the little 2 icon. Click that, scroll back to Phone Dog, and I'm good to go. Now it's loaded over here as well. Pinch to zoom, it's pretty good. It's a little bit laggy, but at least you don't have the checkerboarding issue. You see a little white there when I pulled out too quickly. But pinch to zoom is pretty decent on this device. Now, still easy, but the menu's a little bit harder. We can go to Windows, open up a new one. We'll click on that one. Then we'll go back, Windows, bam, bam, and then we're back to that. So, both pretty decent, but in terms of overall usability and just what everybody would like in general, if I was to compare everybody across the board, I'd say the iPhone wins in the browser department. Let's take a look. We'll go into here and see. Let's go into email just to do some quick comparisons there. Now you have Gmail on this device, and you have Mail. So if you are using something that's not Gmail, you're using Microsoft Exchange, anything like that, you can set it up through Mail instead of Gmail. That said, Old Man McTweety's installed on here, and there are a couple of neat features that I like about this, although the ease of use, again, very easy to use over on this device. Here are your inboxes, your mailboxes, and it shows I have both mine set up as Exchange accounts, so you can see there. And then, of course, your all inboxes and the names I have set up for the accounts. Now, I can go into settings here to add an account, go to Mail, Contacts, and Calendars, and you can see those accounts. We're going to add an account, and then you're presented with your options, or you can add other as well. Mobile Me, Gmail, Yahoo, AOL, whatever it is that you use. Easy to set up. Now let's go take a look at this and see why it's taking so long. See, again, 4G, little things like this. It was working fine yesterday when I did the dogfight between the MyTouch 4G, but you're seeing some delays there. But one thing I like, I'm going to talk about it because this is taking too long. One thing I like about it is with Android 2.2, the header stays at the top no matter where you're at in the email. So if you're halfway through, you're like, I want to respond to this, or I want to forward it to somebody, you can do it because the header is at the top. Archive, delete, etc. There we go. It's about time. Scroll up, as you can see, and I can scroll back up and back down easily through that, and it stays at the top. So very easy to use. Archive, delete, and your arrow buttons are down at the bottom.